Hey everyone, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I speak with visionary leader and beauty expert Elaine Sterling. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. This is actually my first podcast.
Whoa, I
I
feel very
know, I'm a bit slow
special.
out the gate.
I feel very special. And we're going to talk about innovations shaping the future of beauty. Now, I have a lot of female friends, and they're always getting their nails done and their hair done and their skin taken care of. I don't know anything about it because I'm a guy and I don't really do much besides, the basic maintenance. But I like the fact that you use technology, right? And we're talking about innovations. Tell everyone that's watching or listening how technology is changing the beauty industry.
It really is in a huge way. So think during COVID, I used to tell people when they would ask me, Elaine, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I teach people to touch people during a global pandemic, right? So we are very much a high touch industry, still is. I mean, they have developed a robot that does lash extensions. And if you think about how close it is to the eye, when I watched the video, I'm freaked out. But I think that machine costs about $1 million. So
Whoa.
I think they're not quite where they need to be as far as machines doing massages or eyelash extensions or putting on makeup. Do you remember Blade Runner, the first one? I'm showing my age now. The first Blade Runner where she went up and it did her hair and it did her makeup and then
Yeah,
in this pod. That's what I've always wanted because
of
I grew up
course.
with the Blade Runner. So, but it's really AI has changed how we shop and what it can do. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. For example, we, used to have to analyze the skin under a magnifying lamp or analyze the skin using a machine. Now we can hold up the phone
Hmm.
and AI can analyze the skin. It can create a skincare routine for you. I think you're going to see more and more in the Sephora's instead of the samples out with the makeup, you're going to see AI actually put the makeup on your face so you
Yeah,
can
I mean,
kind
I
of
was gonna
try
say,
it before
what's
you
to
buy.
stop you? Like, what's to stop you from, look, you mentioned Blade Runner, the pod on her head, and that you wanted to see that one day. I mean, I grew up with Star Trek, Star Wars, Blade Runner 2, and I've always wanted a personal communications device. I have an iPhone now. Like things have become sci-fi in the future, but today, now we have AI. I didn't know we were going to be using it in the way that we do. You're mentioning I can look at the camera on my phone. I mean, what's to stop the beauty industry from being completely taken over by a guy or a girl on his or her phone, getting the skincare routine, automatically ordering the products, and I don't have to go to a salon. I mean, it's doing it all for me. So, what's your argument on that part?
Well,
Because
it still can't cut your hair. You know, it,
right,
the one thing about the beauty industry, which is a $500 billion global industry, it's still what I go back to. It's still part of the high tech, high touch. You still need somebody to cut your hair. You still need somebody to apply that makeup, to do
right,
that facial, to do.
but you mentioned the robot massage, right? I saw a video online the other day of like a robot masseuse in New York that's actually really good, right? And now they're showing these very detailed robots that can do like threading a needle, and they're starting to get to that point. I mean, Japan and like, Elon Musk, people are starting to really get, because this is the next step, right? The next step
Mhm.
is the robots with the AI in them to be your personal shoppers, personal helpers around the house, and your personal beauticians. So I don't think we're that far away from having that. I mean, when I say that far away, maybe 10 years, but then they can cut your hair and they can do your makeup. So what happens then?
Well, then we're out of a job. I mean, clear and simple, we're out of a job, right? So,
Okay.
and just like what's I think happening in the housing market with the agents, the good ones are always going to survive.
Right.
The ones that this is a hobby or they're not really interested, you're always going to go to that great one. There's always going to be the ones, I always say if you have a facial by me, I mean, you're not going to go to anybody else.
Right.
And that's kind of how good you need to be. None of you and I don't know what's going to happen with AI. They're also going to see what looks we want, how we shop, where we shop. They're gathering all of that data when we're interacting with them.
Of
So they're
course.
going to be able to always gearing us to what we need. And that's what's happening because beauty, L'Oreal, they've created their own AI. The big brands are all utilizing it, using it because they can see how it is really influencing us on how we buy, how we shop, and it knows. Don't you think it's weird sometimes you think about something and then it comes up on your phone? That freaks me out.
Well, I mean, it's known now that they listen to our conversations. I mean, data companies have been saying that for years. That's a fact. I mean, they're listening to our conversations. We know that now. And also people around you, when you talk to them about certain things, then you start seeing it on your feeds and they see it on their feeds, which brings me to, TikTok beauty trends. I mean, I've been seeing these for years. Now, I'm not one to watch them, but I do see the ones where it's like an old woman or a very unattractive girl, and then they start to do all this beauty stuff, and all of a sudden they're like a glam model, and they're like, get
That's with the
catfished,
makeup.
right?
One of them
So
has like no teeth, and then as soon as she puts everything on, she
crazy,
looks like
a model.
like
Like a model, like literally like the most beautiful model you've ever seen. And it's like, oh my God, what if I went on a date with one of them by accident? So tell me
so you're gonna
how.
have to ask for a makeup-free date and
Right.
teeth-free.
Well, they say the first date should be at the swimming pool. That's what they always say, right? Get in the pool and get wet. So tell me about TikTok trends. I mean, I started noticing how huge they were over the years. People are making a lot of money off their videos and getting free product in the mail to show, in their videos. How do you think that's changed the beauty industry?
It's changed because when I looked at the TikTok beauty trends, and then I went to, let's just say, Nivea and just the sort of drugstore brands, they are quoting the videos
Oh,
on
wow.
TikTok.
Wow.
So
Not the other way around.
not the other way. They are saying, okay, this is on TikTok, this is the TikTok trend, etc. So, and I looked at some of the big trends, and they're always becoming. I call it TikTok technical school.
It's true, though. It's true.
Yeah, YouTube University.
Yeah, you can learn any skill online for sure.
And
It's
some of
amazing.
them are good. I think that there's a trend right now which goes into sustainable beauty. Sustainable beauty was such a big tagline, and I think skin minimalism is what they're calling it, where you're using less product. So
Right.
there are some really good trends on there. There's one called skin slugging that I learned about, where
Okay.
you take Vaseline, which is basically petrol, right? It's
Right.
gasoline. That's
It's
what
gasoline.
that's what Vaseline is. And they basically slug like a snail all
Wow.
over their face and neck, and they go to bed with it on.
Oh,
Now, I mean, can you imagine lying next to
that
somebody
doesn't
that's,
come off very easily either.
you know, I want people to know what they're using, and then I did a deep dive, you got to really, I mean, Vaseline's been around since the 1800s.
It's
The
very old.
name
Yeah.
Vaseline, can you
It's ver-
believe it?
it's very
So
old.
yeah, so I always say, like, would you want to put gasoline on your face? Go.
But you have to keep in mind too, like, we're older, sure, but the younger generation grew up with TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook in their pockets, and they don't know any different. So they think that the people giving them advice and beauty tips online is really where they're supposed to get their information. Of course, like you said, there's people who are professional, there's creative artists who are like, well known and helping, actors and musicians and whatnot doing their beauty. So how do you balance like innovation with like keeping things natural and also using social media? Maybe like what are some of the ways that you think people should be able to navigate the world of beauty in your opinion?
Well, if you're a consumer, if you see it on TikTok, I would say get at least two, three different places of information. Just
Mhm.
like me, I don't get my news just from one news channel, right?
Right.
I like to go to X, formerly Twitter. I like to go to the BBC because I like to know what's going on in Europe and the rest of the world. I go to
Right.
Sky News. I go to see. I have to go to 4 or 5 places just to see what's real. Because sometimes I'll get something and I'll say on Instagram or one of the two. I say, is that real?
And
That
it's
can't
not
be
real.
true, right?
Yeah.
And it's not real. And also AI is also, you think Elon Musk is saying something, but meantime it's an AI. So
Right. You have to be careful because of deep fakes and things like that as well. AI
consumer
is
beware. I
definitely,
mean,
yeah.
exactly. And it may the trend may not be right for you. I just like to stay on top of what's trending so that I can meet my consumers. Because I have a cosmetology school and I have a skincare line and I also I have a book. So, I need to really stay on top of what's trending because a lot of my students are just out of high school and they may be more knowledgeable than me after
Wow.
TikTok
Well, yeah,
technical
because
school.
again, they grew up with this, and that brings me to a really good point is in terms of marketing, right? You're talking about students and coming out of school and maybe wanting to start their own beauty line or whatnot or their company. How can they stand out in this overly saturated beauty market because it's, oh, I'm going to start a TikTok channel and I'm going to be trending and I'm going to go viral, but that's not what happens, right? So how can they stand out from everybody else who's doing this?
Well, it's a very noisy market,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's still all about the story.
Mm.
And utilize AI not only for your branding, the AI can create videos for you, can create your website, can create verbiage, and then you can make it your own. But social media is still, I think, the most cost-effective form of advertising that you can do. But you have to be creative to be able to also, cut through the noise.
Yeah.
And so people can see you and want to hear what you have to say.
And that's hard to
These
do. That's hard to
influencers
do.
are,
That's hard to
sorry?
do. That's hard to do because just saying, use AI to do this. What, like, let's say someone's listening right now and they want to start their own beauty line or their new beauty trends TikTok video channel. What would be the top 3 things that you would recommend that they do to be successful?
Well, first of all, know your competition. So I would
Mm,
go to one of the top industry shows like Cosmoprof. Um, Skin Inc. has a show. There's International Aesthetic Spa Conference. There's 3 shows, and actually, Cosmoprof have a lot of labs that are there. So
mhm.
depending on what your lane is, go see first of all what is the competition doing. I also think without a distributor, you can't cut through that noise because
Okay.
this industry was built on relationship building from back in the day,
Of
right?
course.
From the 1930s and 40s, and it's building that relationship. So see what the competition is doing. Who are they targeting? And then I always say to people, if you want to come out with a product, come out with 1, 2, or 3. Come
Hmm.
a small amount of products. Sell the heck out of that. And then you'll see, that like black girl skin, they had that one the one SPF, and then you can start branching out, but have that one innovative product that there's a gap or a hole in the market, and not something that's just trending. For example, the big trend right now is the microbiome. Like we knew that
Right.
there was a microbiome in the
Our
gut.
gut. Yeah.
Now there's one on the skin. So
Right.
you think you
There's
had
there's like
leaky
a
gut?
million little bugs running all around our faces all day
Now you're going
long.
to have leaky skin. Aren't you excited?
And this is, what you said is actually entrepreneurship 101, beauty aside. I mean, to find a gap in the market, a pain point, a niche that you can completely take over,
Right.
and you are the number one leader in that, and then of course you can branch out. That's pretty much what everyone should do. I love that advice. And let's just say that, someone wants to maybe join your institute. You said you had students. What would be a couple of examples of how you would tell them to stay ahead of the trends?
Well, going to the shows is a big one because you can attend
Mm,
all the classes and they'll have what's trending, right? And then also belonging to an association,
mm,
a beauty association, because that'll keep you on top of the trends as well. And then of course following these influencers on social media, on Instagram, that's important too. And I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm
mhm.
on the treadmill to keep me abreast of what's trending in the industry and what's going on. But I also come up with my own ideas, right? Because I'd also say to an entrepreneur, don't get intimidated by what another brand is doing. Know what everybody's doing, but because if you're not passionate about it, it's not going to go anywhere, right? You're just following a
100%.
trend that somebody has already cornered.
Yeah, you have to
So
really love what you're doing in order to succeed, or else you're just selling out, really. I love all
right.
this information. This is great information and advice you're giving everyone. Where can they find out more about you and if they want to be a part of your institute?
Sure. Well, I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. So if you want to go to school, you have to be in Georgia.
Okay.
And that's elainestilling.com. And we have cosmetology, aesthetics, massage, nail care, and barbering, and instructor programs.
Wow.
And then my book is Beauty Beyond the Mirror. It's my life story and basically it's nuts and bolts on, and I give some really pearls of wisdom of what I call the battlefield of business, right? Because you got to be prepared to go to battle.
Heck
Thank
yeah.
God I'm part Viking because I go to battle every single day.
Oh, I love
And
it.
then I know, right? In fact, it's one of my chapters, Battlefield of Business. And then I have my skincare line, Elaine Sterling Skincare, which is really a supportive skincare that I've had line for 16 years. So I try and epitomize the beauty industry, and I'm actually handing the torch over to the next generation,
I love it.
and it's a very powerful industry, and a lot of influence and a lot of money.
Fantastic, Elaine. That was amazing. Hope you guys learned something, and check out elainesterling.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.